There is a legend of a secret valley hidden in the far western region of Tibet. Once a year, on the full moon in May, legend has it, a great light appears, and in the center of that light is the Buddha. This valley is known as the Wesak Valley. From the beginning of time, man has searched for the meaning of existence. He has traveled over vast oceans and high plateaus, over distant horizons and through impenetrable jungles, in his quest for the meaning of life. And such was the beginning of our journey to the Wesak Valley. It is said that when a man or a woman sees something for the first time, they look upon reality. Perhaps he has seen the very first fire in the world. How can he describe fire to someone who has not seen it? One day, everybody knows what fire is. It is as familiar as the sky, the clouds, and the air we breathe. If we find one who has still not seen fire, we too have to fall back on words and know that the words are not the reality. So it is when we talk of Mount Kailas and the Wesak Valley, a land of solitude, for this is one of the earth's most solitary places. Human beings and their works are like minute clouds upon this landscape, just passing through. The Wesak festival, which is fixed annually in relation to the full moon of Taurus, is the great Eastern festival of the Buddha. The Buddha is the expression of the wisdom of God, the embodiment of light, and the indicator of divine purpose. This festival, which is known by many as a day of supreme spiritual impact, is not a commemorative celebration, but rather a present living event. Wesak is a sacred ceremony which takes place each year between the Buddha, the Christ, and the united spiritual hierarchy, as a blessing is poured forth upon our planet. On Wesak, the forces of enlightenment, which emanate from the heart of God, flow outward into human consciousness. This energy transmits the divine principle of love, wisdom, of which the Buddha and the Christ are the two outstanding expressions. In unison with each other, and under the guidance of the Buddha who came to bring light to the East, and the Christ who came to bring light to the West, they can demand and evoke such a blessing and spiritual revelation that the immediate future can demonstrate what is so sorely needed: peace on earth, goodwill to men. Prior to 1985, awareness of the Wesak festival, which occurs in the Wesak Vale in the Himalayan mountain region, was only a legend in the Western world. Some had seen the festival in dreams and visions. The Wesak festival itself, which falls on the full moon of Taurus, is known to all Buddhists and Hindus and to many hundreds of millions of people of the Muslim faith. It is the festival which celebrates the Lord Buddha. For most people, it is a day which honors his birth, his life, and his enlightenment. On planet Earth, it is a day most celebrated by humanity. The ceremony, which is held in the Wesak Valley in the Himalayas, legend has it, is the time when the energy body of the Buddha descends, along with all his fellow disciples, to a level close to the physical plane, so that humans can benefit from the tremendous love that he radiates. The journey begins in Lhasa, where a small group who set out from different parts of the world were on a journey with many obstacles, not the least of which was 600 miles of Tibetan Himalayan mountains to cross. The planning for the journey began in New York in 1981 when David Thomas, Albert Falzon, and Mary Bailey spoke about raising awareness of the Wesak festival in the West. It was to take until May 1985 to get there. Unfortunately, the winter of 1985 in Tibet was a winter of epic proportions. Our journey west was to be challenging. In the service of humanity, a challenge is always a pleasure, and many obstacles are always just a different way of looking at situations. Our goal now is the holiest place on our planet, the place considered by thousands of millions as the seat of the Most High God. It lies on the central plateau of Tibet and on the roof of the world. The name of this holy, most sacred mountain, which represents the spiritual center of the world for a third of the human race, is Mount Kailas and the Wesak Valley. Mount Kailas is 8 days of non-stop driving along the southern road, crossing the trans-Himalayan mountain ranges, and on this road we were presented with visions of spectacular beauty, majestic and unforgettable. Of all places of pilgrimage, it is considered the most difficult to reach and the most full of blessings for the successful. These vast and lonely plains have been ground flat by the sheets of ice that once covered them to a depth of several kilometers. It is a place of titanic forces which are shaping the earth and will continue to do so while yet the earth has life. of all creative energies, thought remains supreme. Some may believe that precise knowledge is the crown of thought. Better still to say that legend will crown thought. In legend is robed the will of the people. There is a valley lying at a rather high altitude in the Himalayan ranges in Tibet. At the time of the full moon in May, pilgrims from the surrounding district begin to gather. Among those gathered, so the legend runs, is a group of those great beings that are the custodians on earth of God's plan for humanity. This group of knowers of divinity are the main participants in the Wesak festival. The night before our arrival, the truck breaks down at 20,000 feet, while the temperature dives to minus 25 degrees. Nobody sleeps that night, but everyone thinks a lot as we watch the truck ice up and get covered in snow. It's a test, not so much of our fortitude, but of our faith and the ability to recognize and hold on to that faith under the most serious circumstances. This is the final gate before entering the Wesak Valley, the home of God. With the dawn, we manage to dig out the truck and move into the final pass and down into the valley. Approaching the time of the full moon of May, pilgrims from all the surrounding districts begin to gather. The holy men and lamas find their way into the valley, which is overshadowed by the sacred mountain. Kailas stands in splendid isolation, radiating majestic beauty and power. Many more pilgrims had gathered. Yet where did this great crowd come from? The sound of the Om could be felt as if it was the group expressing a unity with humanity itself. The chanting becomes more rhythmic and harmonious. The lamas gather their musical instruments, the music of their souls blended with the music of the hierarchy, and perhaps with the music of our planet itself. A stillness settles down over the crowd. The expectancy and the waiting, onlooking group of pilgrims, disciples, and others who have found their way to this valley becomes great. Perhaps there was a sense of the presence of that extraordinary planetary entity known as the Spirit of Peace. How easily we could have missed this valley had it not been for the chance encounter with the Lama, whose true identity as the Rinpoche or head Lama only became known to us on the following day. The men are senior lamas of the Red Hat sect. Their presence emphasizes the important nature of this holy gathering, evolving naturally in the mighty presence of Mount Kailas. Through the entire body of people there seems to be felt a stimulation of powerful vibration. They were drawn upwards by the divinity which flowed through them. Who could deny this soul-uplifting energy, fusing and blending the group into one united whole? We had the feeling that we were not alone. Millions of others were there in consciousness, and that the Wesak festival was an outer expression of an inner spiritual reality. They were breathing in the glory of the mountains and breathing out the energy of the Om. The individuals in the ceremony became living units of spiritual energy, expressing as radiatory and magnetic living. It was the high point of our pilgrimage. Words were not needed. We had linked with another world. Legend has it that the Wesak festival forms itself into a channel for the transmission of power and blessings from the levels on which the Buddha may be found. He acts as a focal point for that power, and passing through his aura, pours it out over humanity. The Buddha knows that there is at the core of the human experience an energy, a potential, a spark or flame that needs evoking, and that is not our true self, because there is no self, no separated individuality in it, for it is life itself. And the point of the human experience is to wake up consciously to this indwelling life and give oneself to it without reservation or hesitation or conditions. When the Buddha was preparing to depart the earth, he said, "I am not the first Buddha who has come upon earth, nor shall I be the last. In due time, another Buddha will arise in the world, a holy one, a supremely enlightened one. How shall we know him?" the Buddha was asked. "He will be known as Maitreya, he whose name means full of kindness." The words of a senior Lama kept echoing in our minds. Your most important duty is to prepare for his return.